Hey everybody, what's up? I am going to be doing a video on 12th position uh, on a C harmonica, which means I will be playing in the key of F on a C harmonica in 12th position. I'll explain that in a little bit. And I am going to be doing the jazz standard Somewhere Over the Rainbow, which I learned from Federico Linari, who I've taken a few lessons with of late. And he is an Argentinian diatonic jazz harmonica player. If you're into jazz on diatonic or just jazz in general, check him out. He's a really amazing player. So anyways, I'll talk a little bit about 12th position after the video. And I will say, like, I'm not very far into studying harmonica in general. Less than a year with a great teacher, Michael Rubin, out of Austin, Texas, who is my main teacher and who is the man. If you need a lesson, look up Michael Rubin. But I am about maybe 3 weeks into 12th position. So my intonation is not really there, and I get that, but it's a journey, and I'm just throwing it out there, and I'm going to share what I've learned in hopes that it will benefit somebody and you can realize that I'm stumbling along, and maybe you are too, and that's cool because that's where we are. So here we go. Okay, so for better or for worse, that was the head. A couple of definite errors in there, more than a couple little errors. But I'm getting there and I'm working on it. So I just want to go over a little bit what 12th position is and what that's all about. So a lot of you know theory. I actually have a background in jazz. So I was a jazz bass player for a long time, and I was living here in New York City, and I had upright bass in a bag and on a wheel one time. This was years ago, and I was gigging in the city, and I was on this really crowded train, and this old dude, this really old guy in like a rumpled suit, kept looking over at me, giving me the stink eye. And finally, he looked over at me, and true story, he looked over at me, and the guy goes, "Kid, you should have played the flute." And he was right. I'm 5'6". Upright bass is a monster, dude. That's moving furniture. So, I mean, it was great. I loved it. It was a great instrument. Ultimately, it's a funny story, but it wasn't the instrument that pulled me in the most. And that was a while back. So now, here I am. It's a bunch of years later. For a variety of reasons, I've moved away from the bass. I've played stringed instruments, guitar, bass for 35 odd years, something like that. So I definitely am coming from a background of music. And before then, when I was in high school and I was a kid, I studied drums and I took piano lessons when I was a little kid. So harmonica, I'm a year into it or so. Other than for years, I messed around doing like Neil Young, Bob Dylan stuff on the rack. Not very good. My wife always said I sounded like the Forrest Gump of harmonicas. It's not very kind. Another unkindness there. However, I wanted to get better. I saw Mickey Raphael last summer with the Willie Nelson band, and I was like, I want to do that. So I went out and I started getting into it, and this is where I am about a year into my journey. So harmonica positions, this is all to say harmonica positions, it's theory, but it's not crazy heavy theory. So if you look, this is the cycle of fourths and fifths. So if you start here on a C, right? If you have a C harmonica and you're playing a G blues, okay, then that's second position on a C harmonica. On a C harmonica, C is first position, G is second position, D, which is lovely, lays out very nice for minor tunes, is third position, A is fourth position, E is fifth position, and you go all the way around the clock through the cycle until you get to F, and F is 12th position. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, and there is no 13. There are 12 chromatic tones in the Western musical sort of scales, and you get back to C. So all that 12th position means is that your starting note is an F, which on a C diatonic harmonica is actually really nice because most of the notes are already there. The closer you are to that home key, the easier it is to access all of the notes without having to do weird overblows and overdraws and bends and all kinds of stuff. And there are some in there depending on what the scale is that you're playing. Scale is different than key, okay? But at any rate, if we go from a C to a G, that's your second position. You're playing a G blues on a C harp, cross harp, and man, it's so easy to get to that because it's so close to that home key. F is just as close. People don't do it as much. The nice thing about the F is that you have a major seventh in there. So if you play C in first position, you have, C major scale is going to be, it's going to lay out perfectly in the second octave. Whoops. That's just all straight blow and draw notes, C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C. Okay? Pretty straightforward. If you want to play a G major scale, you've got to do an overblow. Okay? If you want to do a G7 scale, and we're not going to get into what that is, but if you want to do a G dominant or a G7 scale, that lays out perfectly, okay, without any overblows, overdraws. If you want to change that flat 7 to a major 7, you need an overblow. So that's a whole different thing. But when you're playing F, and you're playing F in the lowest octaves, starting on that 2 double, okay, so the double draw bend, that's your F, that's your starting note, okay, so that's your 1 of the scale. So it's just F, G, A, and then B flat, C, D, E, F. So it's that B flat is going to be an overblow on 6 in that middle octave, but on that low octave and on the highest octave, when you're up on that 10 blow bend, it's just a 10 double blow bend and you get your B flat. So other than that 1 overblow on 6, the whole F major scale lays out really, really nicely across the C diatonic harmonica. So you can play a lot of melodies that are major scale melodies, which is a lot of jazz tunes, okay, really easily in 12th position. So it's, if you play that major scale, it's going to be F, G, A, B flat, C, D, E, F. It's going to sound like this. And I obviously still need to work on my intonation. So I'm getting there. It could take time. Talk to me in a couple of years. But that's basically it. So I've got that F major scale, and those are all the notes in Somewhere Over the Rainbow. So I'm gonna put this up on YouTube and throw the tab in there, and this video is getting kind of long, and I get that. But this is basic sort of position stuff. One more thing that's worth mentioning too is that if you're playing an F major, okay, then your relative minor is going to be D minor. And in Somewhere Over the Rainbow, okay, and actually this is Georgia on My Mind. If you play this in F, which this also works really nicely on a C harp, if you play that Hoagie Carmichael tune, Georgia on My Mind, or if you play Stardust, or if you play, The Nearness of You, or a lot of these songs, they're going to have like an A section, and Georgia on My Mind does, okay? That's going to be an F major, and then the B section of the tune moves to the relative minor, which is 1, 2, 3rd position, another very common position. So it's just super nice. And as I'm learning jazz on diatonic, I'm really saying, hey, 12th position, man, this is super, super handy. You've got to learn the vocabulary and the licks and all that stuff. But a blues scale is a blues scale, and a minor scale is a minor scale, and whatever scale is whatever scale. You just need to know the notes and then practice playing it, practice chord tones and arpeggios and all that stuff, and you can get to it. So here I am starting on my journey, making a long video. Yeah, that's it. So greetings from New York City, Manhattan. I'm up in Harlem, right near the Manhattan School of Music, where they know a lot more crap than I do, those kids. I hope you're well. I hope this has some value to somebody out there. And yeah, keep on playing that harp, man. Keep it real.